What's up, pod pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you're checking out Podcasting Business School, the show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. And today I've got a very special podcast audit episode. We are auditing the IDKWTF I was doing podcast with my pod pals, David and Teresa. David, Teresa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Excited to be here.
All right. So we're going to dive into what you are trying to accomplish with this show here in a minute. But first, I'm super curious, who is the ideal listener for this show? Teresa, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, our ideal listener are going to be like women 40s and above is where we're wanting, and who are wanting to start their own business and create some income from their interests, from their hobbies, from their passions.
Okay. David, anything to add to that, man?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we kind of that elder millennial range is what we like to call them. It is primarily women, but men too, but primarily it's ideally women who, have really started something and then gotten stuck or started to quit or feeling burned out. So they're either looking to turn their hobby into an income, but have gotten stuck somewhere along that way.
Okay. And you, David, you mentioned that you have added to the title a little bit for, I'm assuming, some SEO purposes. Can you explain the title and what you added?
Yeah, so it's IDKWTF podcast. And that's kind of for like the attention grab. And then create income from your interests is the subtitle right after that.
Okay. So, let's put a pin in that. I'll have some thoughts on that here in a minute. So I want to know from both of you, like 6 months from now, we're having the same conversation. I've given you some amazing podcasting wisdom. You implement it and things are going great. Paint that picture for me. I want to know where we want to get to and what success looks like. So Teresa, why don't you start off?
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 downloads an episode would be awesome. You know, we have people coming to us wanting to, work with us, and that we're just adding a ton of value. Like for both of us, it's really important for us to, know and that we're getting the needs of our listeners, what's happening with them. Like we want to have that interactive feedback so that we're putting out content and they're going, oh, we love this and we want more of this and we like this and we have questions about this, so that we really are adding value from our experience, and then we're able to monetize and add value, but also be able to create a significant income from this.
Yeah. Meaningful income. That's the way I like to say it. Meaningful income, not
exactly.
$5 a month mushroom coffee affiliate sponsorships. Like we don't want that. We want meaningful, pay the bills. Like I took this money and I paid my mortgage sort of income. Like that's what we want. All right, cool. David, any additions to the dream that we're going to try to create here in the next 6 months?
No, she nailed it.
Yeah. You guys are dialed in. Outstanding. So, okay. Then David, why don't you kick off on this one? What's the number one thing that's keeping us from getting there right now? What's the main roadblock?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is getting actual engagement back from our audience. So our audience has grown over the last couple months, but we would like it to grow more. But then getting, whether they're jumping on our mailing list or interacting with us, we have a Facebook group that people can join into. And so that's the biggest thing that would help.
Okay. All right. So let's dig in here. I've got some definite thoughts. I feel like you two have a cool thing going. I've checked out your content. Looks great. But I feel like there's a few little micro tweaks that we can make that'll make a giant difference. Let's talk about the name and branding and SEO first, because that's something I always freaking talk about on this show, because most people, we're not professional marketers. When we launched our podcast, most of us were like, I'm doing this. Like I owned a freaking gym, I was like, I'm a meathead weightlifter guy. And like, I didn't know what SEO even stood for, So that we all kind of come from these different backgrounds and we learn how to market. So the key to audience engagement and obviously growth is getting the right people attracted to our show. Mm-hmm. And SEO is critical around that. And I'm proud of you for adding that extension to your title. And tell me the extension again.
Create income from your interests.
Okay. The only issue I have with that is we still don't have any keywords. Like out of all of the words in your title, including the extension, none of those are what people are going to put into Apple Podcasts or Spotify when they're looking for a show.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's an issue. Like that's a giant issue that we need to figure out how to solve, because we can't get audience engagement from our ideal listeners / ideal clients if we're making it harder for them to find it. So that's something that we definitely want to look at. Now, if you're like, we're not screwing with the title anymore, we're just going to roll with it, that's okay too. Then the next step is we got to look at your host description. Like wherever you host, we go in there and go, how did we describe our show? Because that will pull, like we have to make sure that that is SEO city, all the keywords. So all these like career pivot, career building tips, work from home, solopreneurship, all these words are important words for your brand, and all of them have to be in that host description. I would love for some of them to be in the title, but if that's not going to happen, they absolutely have to be in that description, because that's the second most powerful thing. And then we got to really start looking at using those words in individual episode titles, like solopreneurship tips for blah, 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 or make money online, just like all these phrases, all these keywords, we have to just really, it's more fishing lines in the water. And this is the easy stuff. Like when I switched the name of my show from Casting the Pod, terrible, play on words, nobody got the joke, no SEO.
Yeah.
I had to work my freaking butt off for every download. I was out there doing all the hard stuff, convincing people to have me on their show to be a guest, and I'd pull a few people in, posting something interesting on Facebook or Instagram, and I'd pull a few people in. But when I switched from Casting the Pod, 0 keywords, 0 SEO, nobody knew what it was about, to Podcasting Business School, same content, same concept, my downloads quadrupled in a matter of just like weeks. And I was like, holy crap, this is so much easier. It's like the low hanging fruit is in the title, the description, and the episode title SEO. So just food for thought, something to think about. Any questions about that? We all good on that?
No, that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure that's how we found your show, was just typing in podcasting.
Yeah. Podcasting tips, all that stuff. And you just have to think about, again, sometimes people get into SEO, like Google SEO, and like I want to have some Googleable questions in the host. Like if you're looking for answers to questions such as, how do I start a business from home? How do I make a career pivot? How do I launch an online business? That's good. That'll pull up when people search those questions in Google. But when you think about a podcast app specifically, people don't put questions into Apple Podcasts. Like you didn't enter how do I start a podcast into Apple Podcasts when you're looking for a show like mine. You probably just put in podcasting or podcasting tips or something like that.
Literally,
and I'll pull up for that all the time. Like I've got a fighting chance. So we have to be thinking through that filter when we're like, I want podcast listeners that are ideal listeners for my show that could be potential ideal clients. Now, all that being said, let's look at like engagement. All right. What are we already doing to initiate engagement? Like, so are you putting calls to action for people to respond in some way on social, on your show, on your email marketing? Like what type of engagement strategies have you attempted so far?
Yeah. Go ahead, Teresa.
Oh, I was just going to say our main call to action is we have a free ebook. And so you can go to our website and download it, and you just put your email in, and then you get the free ebook.
Okay.
So
we call back to it, and we have that as our only mid-roll ad is specifically for that. And then we do some events where we'll make like the one that's been the best for us was we did a live event of a goal setting workshop, and we had a goal setting guide that said, hey, come join this workshop outside of the podcast, and then download the guide to go along with.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then we did 2 podcasts that went along with the event that we did.
Yeah.
Love it. I love aligning content with a call to action. That's a great strategy, and that's super effective. So I think I would like double and triple down on that sort of a thing. Online workshops, challenges, freebie stuff that gets these people off the sidelines, gets them into the game. You're getting some eyeball to eyeball time or earbud or whatever, but you're actually getting to interact with these people and you're creating relationships with them. You are getting them on your email list. So now you can nurture that potential relationship. I came up with a new concept. I'm actually going to teach this at my Pod Pals Zoom party that I'm doing later tonight. I call it, my sales strategy is I just friend people into submission. I just friend you into submission. Eventually you may buy something from me, but I'm just going to keep friending you and just dumping friendship from my bottle. I got a jug of friendship that I just dump on everybody. And I just keep inviting people to come hang out with me. So this is a great example. You guys heard me talk about this on the show. Like, yeah, I'm going to come hang out with Adam on podcast Audit. At no point in time am I going to be like, and now let's get down to brass tacks and talk about me, you guys buying some stuff from me. Like, that's just not going to happen. But I'll be like, hey, you guys haven't been to Pod Pals. You need to come to that. Or maybe I've got a free challenge coming up that you guys would be a great fit for. But now I understand what you're about, what you're trying to achieve. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect for you. It's free. You guys got to come and do it. Like I'm sticky in that way. And I'll just keep following people up with people. So what are some opportunities that you guys could do to pull more of your listeners or people that follow you on social and interact? So is that like an Instagram Live? So for a while, I was testing out Instagram Live on Thursday where you can have up to 4 people on the screen now. And I would invite listeners to come up and we're just talking about their podcast. So you could like feature listeners or feature their pivot stories or field questions or whatever. You could do something similar to what I do with Pod Pals, where you're pulling people in once a month, do a community party, and you're getting to interact with people and you're getting to kind of level up relationships. But all of these are planting seeds for business down the road when the timing is right, when your offer is right, and you find that cross section when they're like, Dave and Teresa, I've been checking out their stuff. I've been to their thing. I've done a couple of their free challenges. Now I'm super motivated. I know what I need to do. I know they've got these offers. It's the right time. Let's go. And I have people that I'll do a podcast audit with like a year ago or whatever. And they finally follow up like, oh, this new thing you're doing, that sounds like the right fit for me. And they kind of come chasing me down. So I think opportunities and then really focusing on like on your show with that call to action, like you guys have done, aligning the content, but spending a few weeks promoting this as a nice, simple call to action of come to our monthly party or come to our next challenge or whatever, and really driving it from the show onto your email list into this challenge and just staying top of mind with this. So Teresa, is that making sense so far?
Yeah, it makes plenty of sense. And I was thinking, because we have an event coming up at the end of this month, and I was just thinking about, I just listened to one of your episodes about naming everything. And so naming the event, and it's like we had called it Springing into Success, but I think it's too vague. It's not specific enough. And I mean, we could still change it.
Yeah.
But ways to get the people that we want in front of us and then be able to share our knowledge and add value and create that community that we want.
Yeah. You create the community, you make impact, income follows. Like that's what I always say. And it's something that we're so used to being sold to. When somebody doesn't sell to us, it's like refreshing. And it's like, wow, I want to kind of buy from this person now or whatever. Like it's like this no pressure reverse psychology thing where I don't know. It's kind of like dating. Like, and you're like all up in somebody's business and like keep on DMing them. It's like, all right, I need some space. But if you kind of sit back and you're like, I've added value to you, you've added value to me. And when the timing is right, then we can, take our relationship to the next sales level. So that's kind of what I want you guys to envision. Now, another call to action for engagement that may work well for you is asking your listeners, especially your clients, to submit audio for the show. Like I've done that for a lot of episodes at the end where people will submit a fan favorite episode and they'll recommend, another episode to listen to. And that works really nicely, but just making people a part of the show. And it's like in sales, it's just touch points. And I keep track of all my ideal prospects of people that I'm like, wow, I'm interested in their show. I'm interested in what they're doing. I think I could really help them out. I get along with them. This seems like a potentially ELF, easy, lucrative, fun relationship. I've got a short list of those people, and I just start going through. I'm like, all right, they've been to a podcast audit. They haven't done Pod Pals yet. I'm going to see if they want to come to Pod Pals, or free challenge. They haven't done a free challenge yet. My next one. I just follow up with these people, and I keep it on a short list, and I just make sure, or I'll be like, hey, they haven't submitted any audio for the show yet. I would love for them to be able to shout out their show on my show. Here's another touch point. Here's another value add. They haven't gone live on Instagram with me. All right, let's pull them up. Let's get an Instagram live. And it's just like, again, friending them into submission, where it's like, I'm just staying top of mind in every way possible, because I am not that guy that's going to be like, all right, David, once you close this laptop, my price doubles, so you better buy it now. Like, that's just not gonna, that's just not me. Like, I would start laughing. I can't even get all that out. I would just start laughing at myself. I'm like, oh my God, I sound ridiculous.
Real quick, do you use like a CRM to keep track of that, or just do that?
I would, but I just use a Google spreadsheet. So,
okay.
I mean, honestly, like, I keep like a 20-person hot list of like, here are my top 20 people that I really vibe with their brand. And like, if somebody comes to me and they're like, I want to go all out on sponsorships and really max that out, I'm like, I'm not for you. Like, I'm not just going to take anybody's money. Like, I can help consult with those sorts of situations and keep you out of trouble with getting bad sponsors. But if that's like 1,000,000% your focus and you don't want to sell any of your own programs, products, and services, I'll refer you to somebody else. But if somebody's like, I want to level up the meaningful income from coaching, consulting, programs, products, services, I'm like, my ears are perking up. Let's talk. Let's figure this out. So those are the people that kind of, stick to the hot list there. But yeah, so we just got to look for these touch points and go, okay, what is another simple value add that doesn't take a ton of time for them, doesn't take a ton of time for us. We get to interact, we get to be top of mind, and we get to show off what we can do, like show off, opportunities like what we're doing here. Like, it's awesome. It's great expert positioning on your own show. Have you guys ever done any like live coaching episodes or anything like that on your show yet?
No, I don't think we've thought about live coaching episodes, but
I think it would be awesome. I mean, because there's two of you. The only issue is time. Okay. Yeah. Because now you both have thoughts and both have insight. And like, if you do a coaching style episode, you notice like I'm talking like 80% of the time, because it's not like a traditional guesting episode where you feature the guest. It's like, I got a certain amount of time to pour into you all, and I'm pouring, like that's right. I'm not holding back. So with two of you, you got to think like, all right, this is probably 25 to 30 minutes. We got to get right down into it. And both of us kind of have our own little, slice of the pie that we like to add to the equation. But it's great content. It's amazing expert positioning. And I'll make a bet with you. All right. If you can find a way to release 25 to 50 coaching style episodes, that's the sweet spot. 25 to 50 live and in the wild on your podcast, I bet you'll double to triple your sales numbers from before doing that. Meaningful income. Like, it's crazy the amount of expert positioning. Like, you guys, I'm assuming you guys listen to the show and you've probably heard some podcast audits before and things like that. So you're like coming into this knowing me and my vibe and the vibe of the show and what these are all about. And now you're experiencing it yourself. Like, just imagine your listeners doing that and like the leveling up of the relationship. And like, okay, now if I'm going to look at Coach A or Coach B, well, I binge listened to this Coach A's show. They've had me on the show. They've already coached me for free. Like, that's different. Right. So that's the way I want you all to expertly position yourself. So any follow-up questions on that concept?
No, it sounds like fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. Cause what we do have, because we do interview other entrepreneurs, and what we can help with is helping entrepreneurs kind of get to that next level of theirs. And so we let them do it. It's the traditional interview. It's, again, just like you, it's very soft. So it's like, hey, we can help you get to the, like, with these certain things that we notice that you're having to struggle with.
But we're not like focused on the coaching part of it. So we could just tweak that, I think, pretty easily and add that into part of the.
Because that's another thing, is a lot of our listeners aren't ready to be experts. They're still learning and growing. And so that doing a coaching session, I think, really brings them into it and gives them value.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Well, sometimes with a coaching episode, I'll call it like a red light, green light episode for certain brands where you have that person that is thinking about getting their business going or getting an idea going.
Mhm.
And you two, your job, it's almost um, like, like one of those reality shows like American Idol or, America's Got Talent or whatever. Like you red light or green light their idea. And the good news is if you kind of red light it, you're like, all right, you're not ready for this yet, but here's why. And here's how you do get ready. So then they have that walk away. And guess who can really help them get there faster? You guys can. Like, that's the thing. If you green light, you're like, oh, this is perfect. Maybe they're a micro tweak away. And you're like, just change this one thing and it's perfect. Good to go. Green light, go launch your business.
Yeah.
And that's interesting content. And so you don't have to, these sessions aren't like, let's fix everything. Let's get them from point A to point Z in one 30-minute session. It's like what we've done today. Where do you want to get to? What's keeping you from getting there? And let's focus on busting through that wall as best that we can. And like today we've gone pretty deep into this whole, like, all right, how do we get our listenership up and our engagement up so we can make meaningful income? Like that's what we've been discussing here today. So I think that format will work really, really well for you guys. I would highly recommend looking at doing that. Teresa, I'm glad that you are looking at like my naming stuff for the challenges and the offers. Same thing like with the coaching episode. Create something. Don't call it free coaching. People will not take that seriously. Like give it something that brings a seriousness level to it. Like people hear the word audit, they're like, oh, tax audit. Like this is some serious shit he's dealing with here. Like, so we want something that, brings that level of like, all right, this is a thing. And I need to show up for this and I'm going to be a part of this podcast and I'm going to get great value. So yeah, having two of you, that'll be really cool to be able to add different flavors in there. Make sure the timing's right. That would be the only thing that I'm concerned about is both of you feeling like you can do what you can do and time it up. So like, I really don't want you going more than 30 minutes because people need to pay for that if it goes longer than 30, in my opinion. Some people do these giant 3-hour long discovery sessions. I'm not one of those people because I only work 3 days a week and I can't do that. That would be like, all right, and now 10% of my work week is gone. So yeah, I think like homework takeaway, we definitely look at the SEO stuff, really do like a freaking heart to heart on that title, on the description and the host, and really be keyword sensitive every time you create anything with the show, episodes, like all of that. Like really, like what are those terms that your ideal customers really identify with? Like just every opportunity when you get a customer, grill them, ask them, like out of the following 5 phrases and terms, what do you relate to the most? Or have them like rank them or something like that. Just farm information as much as you can. Then once we get more people coming in, really look at inviting them to be a part of the show, or look at how can I interact with these people? How can I interact with more of these people? How can I pull them on and do a Zoom party or a coaching session like this? Can we do more challenges and just stir that? That's called initiating engagement. There's so many podcasters that sit back and go, Adam, I'm not getting any engagement. And they aren't out there initiating anything. They think that asking people to email them from their show is initiating engagement. That's a call to action. Like that's not actually getting boots on the ground and stirring it up. Like, I mean, you guys have stuff cooking. I'd say just like, let's double down on that. And I think you'll get even better results. So top takeaway, what do we think? Like, all right, I'll ask both of you. So that like an action step or something that you really think you want to get boots on the ground and get working on. So Teresa, how about you first? What's your top takeaway? What's an action step that you want to work on?
I think, I mean, even potentially going back and renaming some of our episodes with like keywords, because we have already a lot of value out there. And that it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to really look at the keywords. And so I think sometimes like we like to be witty. We're kind of lighthearted and fun people. And so it's like, okay, leave that at the door that'll be in the content. That doesn't need to be in the title. And I love the idea and really want to work on what it would look like to do episodes where we're coaching, and it's like, okay, and how do we get how do we get the right people on, who are interested in that too? So
Outstanding. Great takeaways. All right, David, what do you got, man?
Yeah, I really like the concept of, creating something that's not necessarily sales driven. That's just like a hangout. Because I'm very, trained in like events and doing the close down and that whole process, right?
Use that, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But I like the concept of like gathering people, which is what my main business is built on. Is it's a mastermind group, but I'd never even considered turning that into the podcasting world.
Yeah.
So I think that's
let's go.
a
Good.
good idea,
And
a great idea.
all right, so kind of a bring it home thought, and Teresa made me think of this, is as creative people, as creators, that's an advantage, but can also be a disadvantage because we can get weird with like naming stuff. And I'm the example of that. I've had to rebrand every single show. I've never got it right the first time. So like that is a serious issue. We get cute, we get witty, we get creative. We love to joke, we love to entertain. But sometimes we are the only ones that got the joke. So I want you to be very specific and very almost vanilla with the title of your show, the branding, all that stuff. And I want you to be all the creativity, we release that in the content. So the content, all that gets out, like be witty, be funny. That's where we entertain people. That's when we're on stage. But to get people to that, we have to dial in the vanilla direct SEO stuff. And those two have to be like the yin and the yang. We need both. We need all that to really get people to the table so that you can entertain them, so that you can create impact and you can create meaningful income. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I want to make sure you guys can shout out your brand, your website, all that stuff before we jet here. David, why don't you take it away, man?
Absolutely. And because we absolutely appreciate you having us on here and putting us on your show, we actually created a special offer just for the pod pals out there. So if you go to our website, is just IDKWTFpodcast.com and then /podpals. We've actually got a free, just a whole digital guide bundle that it does include our downloadable book and a handful of other very useful tools for you guys.
Nice. Respect. Well done, David. I like that. I like that a lot. That's a solid move. Teresa, where do you guys hang out on social media?
Well, it's funny that you brought that up because I literally was thinking, I'm like, yeah, social media, I'm like, is something I want to grow. and looking at all the different values. So we are at IDKWTF podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And I think we're on Twitter too, but it's like, how many things can we focus on? So most of the time you're going to find us on Instagram and Facebook are the main places that we're going to be.
Outstanding. All right. Well, I feel like we've covered a ton. For all of you that are out there listening in, if you want to be just like David and just like Teresa, my pod pals, and you want to do a podcast audit, get signed up, go to the website, podcastingbusiness.school, click the freebie button and get signed up, get on my calendar, and you'll be my next guest on the show. All right, pod pals, I appreciate you for tuning in. I'm going to send you out into the world, wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time.